Hey guys, long time no see. I'm McGann, if you don't remember me, and I am reading the Harry Potter books chapter by chapter for the first time ever in my life. Today we have finally gotten to chapter 25. I believe it's called The Egg and the Eye. It's actually a really good chapter. Unfortunately, the chapter has been a little bit long, and I have been a little bit neglectful to this series, partly due to the fact that I recently got engaged and just got married in May, and the reception is this weekend. So yeah, it's been a little head jumble in here with him moving in and all the other things going on. It's been crazy. I am doing my best to finish this book as fast as I can, but please, if you notice me lagging, leave me comments because that does help motivate me. Although, full disclosure, I'm only recording right now because I plan on chopping off like a foot of my hair, might even be like 14 to 18 inches of my hair, right after the wedding reception on Sunday. So it's too long, it's too heavy, I am getting migraines from it, it needs to go. And my husband is like, oh, just wait until after the reception, you'll love all these long hair photos. And he's right, but I still hate this hair and I've wanted it gone for the last like 6 months. Anyways, personal rant aside, let me get into my notes for the day. Okay, so at the end of the last chapter, Cedric gave Harry some advice to go take a bath with the egg. And Harry, now in this chapter, decides to use the prefect bathroom at night so that he can be there as long as he wants with nobody bothering him. And being the prefect bathroom, you can't just waltz in and out of it, you need a password. And the password here is Pine Fresh, which Harry got from Cedric. So I think the way that this is written is a little bit interesting and telling, because Harry has this weird grudge over Cedric, and Cedric's just out there living his best life like Goofy, unaware that Harry like hates his guts. And so this chapter very deliberately says that Harry decided to use the prefect bathroom, but he couldn't have just decided it because Cedric had to give him the password. So really, this is Harry taking Cedric's advice and not wanting to give him credit for it. And the prefect bathroom is super nice, the best feature of which being the gigantic pool-sized bathtub. It even has its own springboard, and there are about 100 taps all around it. Some of those taps give out water, some give out bubbles, some do all these aroma clouds. There's foam, you name it. There's also a painting of a mermaid, and that's the only piece of decoration in that room. And because the paintings are kind of alive in Hogwarts, the mermaid is sleeping when Harry's in there. And the fact that they mentioned that that mermaid painting is in there by itself, I kind of wonder, can the people in the paintings move around and interact with each other, or is this mermaid like all by herself? And if so, is she lonely? Is she okay with that? I imagine the prefect bathroom, you know, it's going to have the least amount of traffic out of all of them, because what is there, one male and one female prefect for every house, so there's 8 total, and they get their own private bathroom, which is also kind of weird because shouldn't there be like special portals to take students to that bathroom? Because all of the houses are in really different parts of Hogwarts, so a bathroom that is convenient for Hufflepuff is not going to be convenient for Ravenclaw. And maybe the mentality is, well, there's only 8 of them, so who cares? But still, it just seems like a troublesome thing that I would have thought of when designing all of this. Not to mention the prefects are kind of older students, so what keeps the male and female prefects from getting in that bathtub and making tiny wizards? Feels a tad bit neglectful from the school to just let the male and females cohabitate the bathroom at the same time, especially when there's a big bolt on the door. But Harry fills up this bathtub and he's swimming around because it's big enough to swim in. He can barely touch the ground. And when he tries to get to the egg, it is still screaming. And the egg is carrying on so loudly that Harry's like, oh, that's what it was. Cedric wanted me to get busted in here by Filch and get in all this trouble, and that's why he told me to come in here with the egg. Like, Harry, calm the F down. Does Cedric seem like he has ever had a negative thought in his entire body? But Harry temporarily loses the egg as it rolls away on the floor, and moaning Myrtle shows up and says, hey, you should put that egg in the water. And Myrtle is like so thirsty, she's just like, Oh, I looked away when you were naked getting in the water, tee hee hee, and why don't you ever come visit me, Harry? And yeah, I do watch the other prefects get naked and swim around in this bathtub. Why? Like, murmur, go take a cold shower, honey. And seeing Moaning Myrtle again. Now, granted, I haven't seen the movies since they were new, so I can't remember, but I feel like this is the last time we ever see her in the movies. I obviously don't know if that's the case in the books yet, but I'm kind of worried right now, like, what is her fate? And I'll swing back to that in a minute because Myrtle gives us some more insight into her background, and I have so many questions. But right now, Myrtle is kind of poking at Harry and bossing him around and telling him, put the egg under the water. And Harry does, and he could tell that the egg is singing a more legible, understandable song at this point. But he still can't make it out, and Myrtle's like, you gotta put your head under there too, dum-dum. So Harry does, and the song is basically saying that this clue is about underwater creatures that took something from Harry, and he has 1 hour to figure it out and get that thing back, or that thing that they took dies. And Harry comes out of the water and he's like, what could that be? What could that be? And Myrtle's, poking and prodding him a little more, and he finally figures out, oh, I bet they mean a mermaid, which, how do you see that mermaid painting and that's not fresh in your head? Apparently Cedric did the same thing and couldn't figure it out with the mermaid wide awake and like giggling and flipping her tail at him. Oh, that poor boy. He don't have the smart. And once Harry realizes that the clue pertains to mermaids, he's like, oh great, I can't swim. The Dursleys hoped I would drown as a kid, so they never gave me lessons. Just like, boo-hoo, poor me, like, stop it with the angst. Dude, you have been at Hogwarts for 4 years at this point. If you wanted swimming lessons, you could have independently found a pool somewhere. Look how easy it was to find one in this bathroom. And then Harry's like, how do I breathe underwater? And that really triggers Moaning Myrtle, who of course cannot breathe because she's a ghost. And so she starts crying and getting all like huffed up about it. And she's going on how nobody ever cared about her. It took them hours to find her after she was unalived. And she keeps going on about how nobody's ever cared about her, and it took them hours to find her after the basilisk got a hold of her. And here's the backstory part that really stuck in my crawl weird, because one, wouldn't Hagrid have known Myrtle since they were all in school at the same time? And maybe they weren't the same year, maybe they weren't particularly close, but still, like, Hagrid seems like the type that would totally be like, hey Myrtle, let's have lunch every so often. I don't know, it's weird. But apparently the person who found Myrtle's body was Olive Hornby, and Myrtle was so offended by the whole situation and Olive's attitude that she haunted her for years until Olive went to the Ministry of Magic, and the Ministry made Myrtle live in the girls' room toilet. And I'm very curious about how that works, because how do you command or control a ghost? I assume this is some kind of hex put on Myrtle to where she can't get out of Hogwarts, and I assume this is some kind of hex that they put on Myrtle and she can't get out of Hogwarts even if she wanted to. But still, like, that's the story I would like more details on. I'm not quite as invested in Harry figuring out the egg right now. But Harry has his clue now. He's got it memorized. He gets dressed. He leaves. Myrtle's like, you'll come visit me, won't you? And Harry's like, yeah, sure, but not really. And while Harry is walking back to his room, the Marauder's map is showing that Crouch is in Snape's office. And like a moth to a flame, this is why they didn't want to tell him anything in the last book, Harry decides he's got to investigate this. And he ends up walking down this tower stairway where he forgets that Snape has a trick step and he gets his leg caught in it, which causes Harry to not only lose his invisibility cloak and drop the Marauder's map like about 6 steps away from him, but the big, giant, screaming egg falls out of his hands, goes rolling down the stairs, clanging the whole way, like hits the wall and starts screaming until Filch shows up and thinks that Peeves is the one that's up to this. And of course, Peeves the poltergeist is nowhere around to take credit, so Harry is, right there on the stairwell, just barely out of sight. He gets his invisibility cloak back on, but he cannot reach the Marauder's map with his wand to, shut it off and turn it into a blank piece of paper. So he is sweating it out as Filch is investigating, looking for some cause of the egg coming down the stairs. And then Snape shows up because the egg was shrieking right near his office, or inside of his office. The geography at this point is not really clear to me. And Snape's like, Peeves couldn't get in here. Only a wizard could break the seal that I have on my office and my storeroom. And so now Harry's really sweating it out because both Filch and Snape and Mrs. Norris the cat are right in front of him looking for something, and they might physically bump into him at any moment. Then, of course, Moody shows up, and he's just looking around. His little magical googly eye sees Harry through that cloak, but he doesn't give him away. Instead, Moody takes the opportunity to start picking at Snape. And Moody never really says anything directly, but he is very I don't like you, Snape, I don't trust you, and there's an underlying reason why that the audience does not currently know. And I guess Moody gives Snape a look, and suddenly Snape's left forearm starts to hurt, which, if I remember correctly, that is where the Death Eater marks are. I don't know if there's any reason that we would have seen Snape's Death Eater tattoo, or if maybe it disappears. I do believe it comes and goes on command, right? Something like that. And so after this tense back and forth, it's almost at the point where all three men are about to walk away, and then Moody's like, oh, Snape, you dropped that paper there on the steps, and it's the Marauder's map. And Harry's waving under the invisibility cloak, mouthing, that's mine, it's mine. And so right before Snape can grab the map, and he's already seen it, and he's figuring out what it is, and he's like, oh, Moody does a little hocus pocus alley-ocus and zips that map over to Moody himself so that Snape can't get it. And he goes, oh, sorry, Snape, this was actually mine. I must have dropped it earlier. Which isn't even a slick cover, because Snape is like, suspicious map. Triwizard Tournament clue. Suspicious map. Triwizard Tournament clue. Harry Potter. And Snape knows Harry has that invisibility cloak, so he's walking around the stairs like a blind man trying to find something to grab onto, and Harry's trying to lean back like the Matrix to dodge that grasp. And then Moody intervenes in a way that is very interesting, because Moody's like, oh, I see you jumped right to accusing Harry Potter here, so I think I'm gonna go tell Dumbledore about that. He's very interested in finding out people who have it out for Harry, and so am I. And Snape just kind of gets this and after a little bit of back and forth, Snape has to give up and silently go back to his room to bed, because there's no way that he is going to be able to pin something on Harry and not make it look like he's a Death Eater out to get Harry, and Snape knows that, even though it's not directly being stated. And then Moody wants the egg from Filch, and Filch is like, no, this is my ticket to get Dumbledore to kick Peeves out of the castle. But Moody kind of bullies him into taking the egg, and Filch is like, come on, Miss Norris, we'll just talk to Dumbledore in the morning then. And so Moody helps Harry get his leg out of the trick step and hands him back the egg, but Moody does not give Harry the map back immediately, and that was so suspicious to me. Instead, Moody's like, I'm very curious about this map. Did you see who broke into Snape's office on this map? And Harry's like, yeah, it was Mr. Crouch, who's supposed to be sick and not even here, so I thought it was really weird, and that's why I wanted to come look. And Moody's like a dog with a bone once he hears this. He's like, oh, you think I'm known for a bad reputation of seeking dark wizards? Crouch is way worse than me. So he would never be in Snape's office unless he thought something was going on. And again, what really calls to me here is that Moody does not give the map back to Harry, and he does not open the map to be like, oh, well, Crouch is over here now, so I better run. But Moody does say that he doesn't like Death Eaters who get to walk free, which I think reiterates the point of why Moody doesn't like Snape. That just seems to be a dot that is easy to connect. And instead of asking any questions like, where did you get this map? Or why are you out of bed? Or what's going on with this? None of the teacher-like questions come out of Moody. Instead, he's like, can I borrow this map? And Harry's like, sure. And so Moody goes, oh, good boy. Have you ever thought about becoming an Auror? Because you would be really good at it. You're so clever and smart and wonderful. And again, that's just too much of a Scooby-Doo thing where I know it's gotta be different than what they're trying to portray, because they're trying to make a lot of people think, oh, Snape must be a bad guy. You know, we've been wanting him to be a bad guy for 4 books, and here it is. Here's gonna be his comeuppance. But I don't think that that's where the writing will want to take it. That's too easy of a get to have with another like 12 chapters left in the book. There's no twist to that. It's not going to surprise anybody. And especially since when Moaning Myrtle appeared in the bathroom, the book starts talking about polyjuice potions again. I think that Crouch has to be using a polyjuice potion to make himself look like Moody. Because conveniently, Moody is right there very quickly when that's the place that we saw Crouch. We heard and saw nothing of Crouch changing locations. Moody doesn't look at the map and go, oh, I gotta hunt Crouch down right now and find out what's going on. None of that is happening. And instead, Moody is like complimenting Harry, like, hey, I'm on your side, kid. I'm gonna get you out of trouble here, kid. You can trust me, kid. I think you're so smart and you should be an Auror too. He's trying to get Harry to look to the left so that Harry doesn't see what's going on the right with Moody. And that's my theory at current, and I'm sticking to it. And I guess we'll find out within a few chapters. So for me, in another 6 to 8 years, we'll get through that. But I assume answers are coming soon, unless they're going to stretch this out over multiple books. And I know there's still 3 books after this one, but come on, we got to close up this story, right? I hope so, because Voldemort is enough of an open tab by itself. Anyways, guys, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, share. All of that good stuff is free for you and really helps me out. I would also like to call your attention to the board game demos that I've been doing lately. We have had a lot of success with a lot of companies. I'm actually in the process of creating and producing my very first board game, so I will finally have a product of my own that I've made. I'm really excited. It's a project that my husband and I are really trying to sink our teeth into. So yes, if you like board game content or you know anybody who does, please send them our way. I would super appreciate you. Anyways, that's it for today. So see you next time, Fanily members. Bye! If you had fun watching today's video, don't forget to subscribe so that you can see more, and let us know in the comments what other videos you might want to see in the future. Also, don't forget to check out our other channel, The Fangirl, where we talk about all kinds of movies, TV shows, and even books and comics. But viewer discretion is advised. See you next time, Fanily members!